And what I'm going to show you today is how to can venison. I am actually not a venison fan, so anything I can do to make it taste and even look or smell less than venison, I certainly do. This is something that my mom actually did on a farm. I grew up on a dairy farm, and we had a lot of beef and a lot of kids to feed, so this was a great way of preserving the meat and also having it so it's real easy to use. So first thing I do is wash it off, and I make sure that I get rid of as much of the muscle sheath as possible, but you can see I got a whole bunch over there cut up already, and what I try to do is cut it so they're all about an inch in diameter. You want them all about the same size so they end up cooking about the same. So look at that. Over here I have beef broth, which I use instead of water in the jars. Makes it taste a lot more flavorful. And I just happen to have a can of beef broth, so I threw that in. But mainly I use this. It's called Better Than Bouillon. It's actually a paste. And it has a lot of flavor to it. Really adds a lot to it. And then to make it look a little bit darker, I use the gravy browner. But otherwise I have my cooker over here, my canner, and that requires 3 quarts of water in it. So I put that in there. And then if you put a couple of teaspoons of white vinegar, your jars won't get that white film around it when you're done cooking. I also have my lids. I don't have them heated up yet, but these are in a little kettle, and I need to boil these so those are hot when we put them on. And I have the jars. These are the quart jars. They're washed and cleaned, and make sure that there aren't any cracks or any deformities on the lids, because you do want it to seal good. So I'm just going to sear this, and it'll give it that nice brown coloring, a little bit of flavor to it. And this is it's called a hot pack method. The broth is going to be hot, and the meat is going to be hot too. And I just like it because, a couple of reasons. Meat is very low in acid, and when you're canning, you have to be very careful about things that you're canning that are low acid, because they can spoil a lot easier. So just browning it helps give it a little boost of getting cooked. And it also shrinks it a little bit, so when you're packing the can, like I'm doing right now, you can actually get a little bit more in than if it was just a raw pack. And you just fill that up until that rim. You want an inch headspace for the canning. So when you get the meat in there, they also have these little handy little tools. You just go along the sides, and you want to get rid of any air, because you don't want air in between there. Air is your enemy for spoiling. And then I make sure that the top is clean, because you want the rubber on that lid to make good contact with it and seal. These were boiled, so the rubber on the seal is already very easy to get it sealed done. And then you just put the cover on, and you just finger tighten it. You don't want to put it too tight. And that's it. All right, so I got the last jar filled. That was 11 pounds of meat, and it filled up 6 jars. Now my canner holds 7 quart jars, but I only have 6, which will be perfect. And what you do next then is make sure you have your 3 quarts of water, at least for this model, with a little bit of white vinegar. And you can see on here, it has its own pressure gauge. We need it at 11 pounds for 90 minutes for these quarts. And that's just for this pressure cooker and for our elevation. So please do not use my requirements. Use whatever your manufacturer says. A notch here and a notch here. And all you do is you turn it until the notch clicks, so you know it's on tight. You know, pressure cookers scared me to death when my mom used to use them, but they're really not as scary as they look, as long as you know what you're doing. So that is locked there. I have the heat on high, because what we need to do then is let it vent for 10 minutes. So once I see steam coming out, it's going to vent for 10 minutes. Then I'm going to put the regulator on it and get it to that 11 pounds of pressure. So it's been venting steam now for 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put that on. What that'll do is that'll help create that pressure. And there's a tab back here. Once that tab pops up, that means it's pressurized. And then this lock over here, I'll hear it click for a lock. So now the pressure can start building up. Right now it's at 0. I need it at 11. And the timing of the cooking doesn't start until the pressure reaches that 11. And prior to that air vent lock, there it goes. Prior to it going on, it's going to exhaust a lot of steam, and that's good. So now that means that the lock and the handle is locked. It also means that it is air locked. Okay, we finally hit that sweet spot of 11. Alright, so 90 minutes are up. The pressure is down to 0. This little pressure indicator is flat, so I know that there's no pressure left in it. And I took this off, and it released just a little bit more pressure. So, okay, these are very hot. They are still cooking. If you can see it bubbly in there yet, so they will need to cool, and you'll eventually hear them popping, and that's the seal.
That should make you hungry right there. So delicious, babe. Once again, we're living off the land partially, but it tastes very good. And a real quick shout out to all the military and police officers that are not at home during the holidays, because they're protecting the freedoms that we all have to be at home to celebrate this Christmas and the holidays. So thanks, guys and gals.